What if you could commit the perfect crime, one that no one would ever discover? What if that crime could prove you're extraordinary, above the laws that bind ordinary people? This is the question that torments Rodion Raskolnikov, a desperate student drowning in poverty, trapped in the suffocating streets of St. Petersburg. He believes that some men are meant to rise above morality, to commit terrible acts for a greater good. So, he decides to test his theory. With a trembling hand and a fevered mind, he raises an axe, and life, as he knows it, shatters forever. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment isn't just a novel. It's a descent into the darkest corners of human conscience, a battle between guilt and justification, morality and madness. But here's the real question. Was Raskolnikov right? Let's unravel this masterpiece. From the moment Raskolnikov swings the axe, guilt seeps into his bones. At first, he clings to his theory, justifying the murder as an act of justice, a service to the world. But his mind betrays him. His guilt is relentless, growing like a shadow that follows him through every alley, every fevered dream. The real punishment? It's not prison. It's his own conscience. He spirals into sickness, paranoia, and hallucinations. He imagines blood on his hands when none is there. He can't escape the weight of his crime. The axe struck once, but his mind will relive it 1,000 times. But Dostoevsky doesn't just trap Raskolnikov in guilt. He offers him a way out. Redemption isn't found in hiding. It's found in confession, suffering, and atonement. When Raskolnikov finally admits his crime, a door opens, not just to Siberia, but to his own salvation. Raskolnikov's murder isn't random, it's an experiment. He believes that society is divided into two types of people: ordinary men who follow laws, and extraordinary men who are above them. Great leaders, Napoleon, Caesar, killed without remorse. If they could do it, why couldn't he? The old pawnbroker? She was useless to the world. Her death, he argues, is a necessary sacrifice, a stepping stone toward greatness. But here's the catch. Raskolnikov is no Napoleon. When the moment arrives, he hesitates. He feels fear. He feels shame. He is human, after all. And that's Dostoevsky's message. No one is truly above morality. The weight of crime is inescapable, even for the so-called extraordinary. This novel isn't just about crime. It's about the human mind under pressure. Raskolnikov is torn between two selves. One is cold, calculating, trying to justify his crime. The other is tormented, suffocating under guilt. Dostoevsky pulls us into Raskolnikov's head, making us feel his fear, his anxiety, his delusions. At times, we even sympathize with him, until we remember the blood on his hands. And yet, Crime and Punishment reminds us redemption is possible. Through suffering, through love, through confession. Raskolnikov may find his way back. But does he truly deserve it? That's the question Dostoevsky leaves for us to answer. The moment Raskolnikov lifts the axe, his fate is sealed, not by the law, but by his own mind. At first, he believes he can escape it. He tells himself the crime was justified. The pawnbroker was old, cruel, worthless. Her death was necessary. But guilt is insidious. It doesn't strike all at once. It festers, creeping into his thoughts, his dreams, his every breath. He sweats under the weight of an invisible punishment. The axe only fell once, but in his mind it swings again and again. Dostoevsky paints guilt as an unstoppable force. It haunts Raskolnikov more than any detective ever could. He grows paranoid, feverish. He returns to the crime scene, drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Why? Because he wants to be caught. But Crime and Punishment isn't just a story of guilt. It's a story of redemption. Raskolnikov thinks he can outsmart morality, but he can't outrun his own soul. His suffering becomes his trial, his confession, his salvation. Through pain, through love, through Sonia's quiet strength, he is led, not to death, but to rebirth. Dostoevsky's message: no one can escape conscience, but everyone can seek redemption. The extraordinary men. Theory: who has the right to kill? Raskolnikov believes the world is divided into two kinds of people. Ordinary men, the ones who obey laws, live small lives, and die forgotten. Extraordinary men, the Napoleons, the Caesars, the great figures of history who break laws to create progress. The crime is not just an act, it's a test. Is he an extraordinary man? If so, he should feel nothing. But he does feel something: fear, guilt, horror. His hands tremble, his mind fractures. He has failed his own experiment. Dostoevsky dismantles the idea of the superior man. Raskolnikov thought morality was a social construct. But the truth? It lives inside us, inescapable. This is what makes Crime and Punishment a masterpiece. Not just the crime, but the mind unraveling after it. Raskolnikov is a maze of contradictions, cold yet compassionate, brilliant yet broken. He's not a villain nor a hero, but something terrifyingly real. Through his suffering, we don't just watch a man punish himself, we feel it. Because maybe, just maybe, we all have a little Raskolnikov inside us. Why does Crime and Punishment still grip us, nearly 160 years after it was written? Because the questions it asks haven't disappeared. Can a person justify terrible actions for a so-called greater good? Is guilt a weakness or proof of our humanity? And when we do something wrong, can we ever truly escape the consequences? Raskolnikov's dilemma is still our dilemma. We live in a world obsessed with power, ambition, and the idea of being extraordinary. People still justify corruption, crime, and cruelty in the name of progress. And guilt? It still follows us. Whether in politics, business, or even personal choices, we see people wrestle with their own consciences, trying to convince themselves they are above morality. But Dostoevsky shows us something powerful. No one is untouchable, not by the law, but by their own soul. That's why Crime and Punishment still matters, because guilt is universal. Because morality isn't about rules, it's about the war inside us. And because in the end, the question isn't just about Raskolnikov, it's about us. What would you do? Would you confess? Or would you run? In the end, Crime and Punishment isn't just a novel, it's a mirror. It forces us to ask, what would we do in Raskolnikov's place? Could we justify the unjustifiable? Could we bear the weight of our own conscience? Dostoevsky doesn't give easy answers. He drags us into the darkest corners of the human mind and leaves us there searching for truth. Because in the battle between guilt and reason, morality and madness, who truly wins? That's not just Raskolnikov's question. It's ours. And maybe, just maybe, that's why we still can't look away. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to drop a comment below and share your opinions. We read every single one. Thanks for watching.